Good evening, or whatever time of day I find you, and thank you for lending me your ears. Clear your world of distractions, make yourself comfortable, close your eyes if you wish. Simply relax and let me tell you the myth by which the ancient Greeks believed the seasons came to be, the story of Demeter, Persephone, and Hades. Let me begin at the beginning. Zeus, the father of the gods, had 3 sisters. First there was Hera, who was also his wife. She was the queen of the gods as well as the goddess of marriage. Then there was Hestia, the goddess of home and hearth. And finally Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, responsible for the crops and the feeding of the people. Demeter was loved by all humans for her gift of soil and the gentle, mild weather with which to grow their crops. They worshipped her for her caring and kind nature, for she was a goddess who revelled in helping the people. Persephone was Demeter's only child. Like her mother, she was kind and caring, with a happy nature and the most dazzling smile. She was of the sort who spread light and happiness wherever she went, and so, naturally, she was loved by everyone, but most especially by her mother. Demeter liked nothing more than to spend hours in the company of her delightful daughter, chatting and laughing, watching her grow into a radiant young woman, and then seeing the way she enchanted those around her. Until one day, when her beloved daughter mysteriously vanished without a trace. Persephone had been wandering with Artemis and Athena in the meadows, gathering flowers for Demeter. She moved happily through the grass, picking fragrant blooms. Wafting on the gentle breeze, the most exquisite perfume caught her attention. "I must have this for my mother," she thought, and followed the delicious scent as it led her away from her friends. She then espied the narcissus and stooped to savour its perfume in full. Unbeknown to Persephone, Hades, ruler of the underworld, had spotted her on one of his trips to the world above. He was dazzled by her beauty, her elegance, and her charm. He decided that he must have her as his wife. Knowing that Demeter would never agree to her daughter living with him in his gloomy world of the dead, he decided to visit his brother, Zeus, to discuss the matter. Perhaps against his better judgment, the great god Zeus agreed to Hades' plan, to abduct the young woman and take her to his realm. Persephone glanced up from the magical bloom and noticed little birds anxiously twittering and fluttering like moths trapped in a spider's web. The sky began to turn grey and darkened still further until it was completely black. There was a deep rumble that seemed to shake the very air around her as the ground began to shift and shudder. A crack suddenly appeared in the surface of the earth, and, as Persephone watched in fear, in awe, a great chasm opened before her. With a deafening boom, a hiss of steam, and clouds of inky black, billowing smoke, Hades appeared, driving his horse-drawn chariot of black and gold. Persephone froze in shock, the freshly picked flowers spilling from her fingers. Hades leant from the chariot, scooped her up, turned his horses back towards the opening. At last Persephone screamed to her mother for help as down, deep down into the widening crack in the earth, the chariot plunged. Cavernous rocks split apart to make way, and it was a world of sparse light, a world of black and of grey. Hades had led a sad life, lonely in the depths below, but now, enlivened and enchanted by the fair Persephone, the dark lord of the underworld felt sure that he must be in love. Using all his powers of persuasion, he pleaded with her to stay and to be his bride, to rule with him in the underworld. But this was not the world in which this beautiful, bright young woman wanted to live. At first Persephone cried and cried, until she had no more tears left to weep. She refused all offers of food, for she had heard the legend that those who eat in the underworld can never return to the world above. So she determined not to let a morsel of food pass her lips. Each day Hades would visit the splendid chamber he had prepared for her, bringing dainty morsels to tempt her and declaring his love. Each day she turned away, refusing to listen to his honeyed words. However, gradually she began to look around her, and could not help but admire the tasteful but luxurious decorations, the soft, silky furnishings, and the sparkling, bejeweled surfaces. One day, as he entered, she turned and looked at Hades himself, a strong, dark face and hypnotic eyes filled with sadness, affection, and just a hint of cunning looked back. He stretched out his hand, and the girl tentatively put hers into it. "Come, my love, let me show you my domain. Come and see the world to which you bring such light, and of which you can be queen, if only you will marry me." Meanwhile, Demeter was beside herself with grief. Her daughter had not returned, and no trace of her had been found apart from a few wilting flowers. Demeter roamed the countryside, searching and seeking far and wide. At first she was angry that anyone could have taken her beautiful daughter, but soon her fury turned to sadness and despair, and, as a consequence, the world was sad along with her. The crops did not thrive, the land became barren, and sorrow began to creep over the earth like a thick fog. "Who will help me to find my daughter?" wailed Demeter, with her arms lifted towards the sky. It was at that moment that Helios, god of the sun, took pity on the distraught Demeter and told her the truth, for he had seen clearly what had happened whilst on his daily journey across the sky, and he felt sorry for the grieving mother. "Hades has stolen your daughter and taken her down to his dark realm to be his bride," he explained. "What? He has dared such a wicked act under the nose of the great Zeus?" Demeter shrieked. Helios hesitated in his response. "Fair Demeter, I only tell you what I know, and I am sorry to be the one. But Zeus himself agreed to the union." At that Demeter's wrath knew no bounds. Anger most terrible and most savage flared in her heart. She strode to the foot of Olympus and called upon Zeus and all the gods to hear her oath. "Never again shall I set foot on Olympus, and never again shall I let the ground be fruitful and yield its crops, until I once again behold my beloved daughter, whom you have conspired to steal from me." Zeus, watching from on high and listening to his sister's words, became gravely concerned by this turn of events. If the crops failed and the people were to go hungry, they would surely turn on him. Hermes was to be the architect of Zeus's solution. Hermes was his messenger, and on this occasion would be tasked with solving the conundrum. Indeed, there was no messenger finer than Hermes, and he agreed to start on his journey to the underworld immediately and bring Persephone back. Each day now, Persephone would let herself be led by Hades to explore his kingdom. Her inner sunshine lit up the once gloomy world. Her kind heart was moved by the plight of the souls first arriving in the underworld. They were lost and bewildered, in need of sympathetic help and guidance, which she could give. No less was Persephone's kind heart moved by Hades himself, his sincerity and his patience for winning her over. She still missed her mother terribly, but she had begun to enjoy the company of this elegant, powerful, and adoring god, and was intrigued by the idea of being queen of the underworld. As Hermes arrived, in the distance he saw Persephone and Hades sitting together on a sumptuous seat. Hades held a pomegranate in his hand. "Persephone, my love, I am so worried that you will fade away if you do not eat. Look at this sweet fruit. Taste just a few of its delicious seeds." Looking deep into his eyes, the girl carefully reached down her hand and took the luscious fruit to her lips. Deliberately she swallowed a few seeds, just 6. But now Hermes knew he had arrived too late. Persephone was committed to Hades and to the underworld. Loyal to his master Zeus, he resolved to negotiate some sort of deal with Hades. The task would not be easy, but this was his strength. "Great Hades," he began, moving forward in the dim light. Hades knew why Hermes was here, and knew that he would have to part with Persephone. But now she had eaten of her own free will, he also knew she would have to return to him. "She has eaten 6 seeds," said Hades triumphantly. "I am willing to let Persephone go back to her mother for 6 months each year, and for the following 6 she will return to rule with me as my queen." And so it was agreed. Every spring Demeter makes sure flowers blossom in the meadows and the mountains bloom to welcome home her loving daughter Persephone. And every autumn Demeter cries, and the leaves fall and the crops are at an end, as her daughter returns willingly, as queen of the underworld, to Hades, her husband.